The introvert personality is generally characterized by, being alone as much as possible. Actually, there are several signs that you have an introverted personality. 10 I'm going to cover in this video, some of which might surprise you. First up, let's get the simple ones out of the way first. You are rapidly drained by social interaction. Whoa, wait a second. I see you extroverts out there saying, oh my gosh, I'm drained by social interaction. Yeah. No S, Sherlock. Lots of extroverts think they're introverts because they spend 16 hours a day talking to people and then they're like, wow, I'm so drained. I don't think I could do it for 17 hours. The key word here and the difference is introverts are rapidly drained. You know what I mean? Rapido. That's Spanish, I think. I'm talking like maybe 2 hours of socializing on a good day. And that's really pushing it. I have found there have been times where I'm like getting lunch with a friend and everything's going fine, and then maybe 75 minutes into it, my brain just shuts off, and all I can think about is how I'd like to go home. Next, you enjoy being alone for long periods of time. Once again, everyone enjoys being alone at least a little bit every once in a while, but introverts take it to the extreme. An introvert might very well enjoy spending entire days, dare I say even weeks, without speaking to another soul. And a true introvert won't even think much about it. At some point, yes, the introvert will get a bit bored, maybe a bit lonely, because no matter how introverted a person is, they need at least a little human interaction. But a true introvert will enjoy and even prefer being alone a lot of the time. You prefer one-on-one social situations to being in a group. Introverts don't like handling a group social dynamic. In a group, introverts will often kind of just fade into the background because it just takes so much energy to engage with multiple people. Everyone's talking, everyone's throwing their 2 cents into the mix, and the larger the group, the harder it can be to really dig into a topic because it's hard to keep the conversation on the same topic. So introverts really prefer to speak one-on-one to people. It keeps the conversation simpler because it's only one other person to keep track of, and it allows the ideas of the conversation to develop more thoroughly, which introverts enjoy. You prefer to work alone rather than with others. Very similar to the last point, but instead of socializing, we're talking about work or school where the focus of the energy isn't on a conversation or an exchange of ideas, but rather on a specific project or a goal. Introverts really like to think things through for themselves, but when you've been thrown into a collaborative group environment, you have to sacrifice that individual processing and work things through together. Don't you hate working together? To the introvert, it's frustrating because it's not very efficient. Other people might have not good ideas, otherwise known as bad ideas, but the group decides to go with it because that person was loud enough. And even though working with others theoretically should create less work for the introvert, just the fact that you have to coordinate with other people can actually make it feel like more work. You might seem less enthusiastic to others. How do I put this? Introverts don't like fun. At least not as much as non-introverts do. I mean, think about extroverts. They get really excited about almost anything. It seems easy for them to be happy, especially when people are around. And yeah, being an introvert doesn't mean you're miserable all the time, but they're not the kind of people to act really excited and enthusiastic very often. This comes down to the personality trait of extroversion being defined scientifically on the 5-factor model, also known as the Big Five, as sensitivity to positive emotions. So the more extroverted someone is, the more excitable they are, the more quickly they are able to feel happiness and unbridled enthusiasm. Introverts are low in extroversion, duh, and by that definition, they are not sensitive to positive emotions. Explains a lot. Obviously, an introvert can feel happiness, it's just not gonna happen really quickly right away. While we're here, if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. You don't feel the need to share your thoughts with others. Introverts can get a bad rap for being hard to get to know. Extroverts talk so much that it's like, okay, I've been around this person for 10 minutes and I know their life story. But with introverts, it can be like, I've known you for 20 years and I'm not really sure who you are. Because introverts just don't feel a responsibility to express their thoughts and feelings to others very often. Introverts like to keep their opinions to themselves unless someone asks them what they think, and the other person might have to ask them several times. This really goes back to social interaction draining the introvert. Introverts know the more they talk, the more they will get entangled in a conversation. The more stuff I share about myself, the more ammo other people have to talk to me again in the future. The next sign is you spend a long time thinking before making a decision. This is actually another reason, which I was saving just for right now, that introverts don't like fun. They're not impulsive. Introverts like to take a long time to process information before they jump into something. On the one hand, this is good because they will see all the potential problems with a certain course of action before they take it, but on the other hand, it could make them too slow to make decisions, or it could paralyze an introvert altogether. You are easily overstimulated. This really gets down to the nitty-gritty of what makes an introvert an introvert. An introvert's very nervous system is different from an extrovert's. Namely, an introvert is more sensitive and reactive to external stimuli. For a more in-depth look into this specific point, check out 7 signs you're a highly sensitive person in the card right here. So this basic fact explains so much about introvert behavior. Why introverts prefer to be alone, why they get drained in groups, why they don't like fun, why they listen to Coldplay. Okay, I just made up that one. This means introverts aren't going to be able to multitask or work in a constantly changing environment as well as their extroverted counterparts. This also means that introverts can't ever really truly become an extrovert because they can't just like shut off the sensitivity. Like, oh yeah, let me just adjust my central nervous system really quick. No big deal. You tend not to be assertive. Introverts are quiet. They don't enjoy being the center of attention. They're not used to it. Plus, their sensitivity can make them sensitive to conflict. So being assertive is not going to come naturally for an introvert. So much of what we talked about so far comes into play here. Introverts get drained by other people. Introverts also tend not to express their opinions, and put them in a situation where they need to be assertive in a group, forget about it. This is something I think introverts can really work on though. Assertiveness is something you can practice and learn. A lot of it comes down to confidence, and introverts are not naturally as confident as extroverts. It might be because they socialize less. It could also be because of our next point, which is you tend to be skeptical or even pessimistic. As mentioned before, introverts think things through and tend not to be impulsive. When you take this a bit far, the introvert can overanalyze everything to the point of being skeptical or pessimistic, not just about the world around them, but about themselves as well. Also consider how the introvert is not as receptive to positive emotions and how that could make them less optimistic. I'm really ending on a positive note here, aren't I? To put a more positive spin on it, you could look at it as the introvert is trying to put on the brakes before taking action, which they do ultimately to conserve as much energy as possible and prevent getting drained. Thanks for watching. Watch this video about introverts next. Till next time, stay cool and attractive. Just gonna see if you click this video here. That one right there.